Water birds make way for crows. The lake's edges are lined with rotting fish. Pelicans and turtles have also died here. Lake Menindee today is a result of natural disaster combined with unnatural indifference.
People were taking the cod out at one stage and just chopping their heads off so they could use their heads as monuments. There was a huge amount of native species. I mean, the crows were coming down and actually picking the eyes out of the fish while they were still alive. They were actually struggling to breathe. They were dying in the thousands.
Can you tell me how the authorities responded to your concerns?
They didn't respond at all.
A reliable supply of water to this virtual desert region of New South Wales southwest is a recent innovation. The Menindee lakes originally consisted of 4 natural depressions, transient lakes, which filled during times of flood and emptied back into the Darling River when the water levels went down. 25 years ago, it was decided the floodwaters should be harnessed. This provides Broken Hill with a guaranteed water supply and also caters for irrigation and stock needs downstream of the Darling. The trouble is, the weirs which trap the water also trap fish, which can't escape into the Darling when lakes subside in times of severe drought. To the authorities, this is no big deal.
This is horrendous. This should never happen.
We've locked them into the scheme. With the benefits, unfortunately, come a few disbenefits, and I think this is one.
Menindee is at its lowest level since the storage system was constructed. What distressed locals can't understand is the lack of any contingency plan to rescue native fish.
Here's a couple of cod, John.
Look at them. They're supposed to be protected.
Murray cod have been steadily declining in number over the past 100 years. When the water level got under 2 metres here last November, the water temperature increased and oxygen content decreased. The massive cod were the first to succumb. What was it like watching this happen?
Well, very emotional, very, very emotional. People were very angry, children were crying, women were... Everyone was really worried about it. It was very emotional just to see these really large fish, the cod, that were so old. These cod were here before the system was ever invented, before man ever banked it up. And here we are killing them 80 years later for no reason at all.
SOS for cod screamed the local headlines. Call-in rescue helicopters and the Army demanded Broken Hill councillor Mark Kirsten. The government would, he said, if it were whales at risk.
Heaven and earth would be moved to save those whales, and I agree with that. That's fine. Or if a forest were in danger and some koala families or the snot-nosed budgerigar somewhere was endangered, we know what would happen. We're faced with a situation on our lake scheme now where native fish have been let perish in the most miserable of conditions and probably the most agonising death imaginable for a fish.
Technically, the New South Wales Department of Water Resources is responsible for controlling and supplying water, and the Department of Fisheries for looking after fish. Not one meeting was held between the two regarding the fate of the fish when it was decided Water Resources would deliberately drain Lake Menindee. While the departments dithered, the fish continued to die, and now it's too late. Not a single Murray cod has survived.
Why are we getting the bagging for the fish when it's really a fisheries problem?
So whose fault is it? Is it the Department of Water Resources or is it the Fisheries Department?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't like to bag the fisheries, but the Water Resources have certainly been getting a bagging over it, and the fisheries were pretty slow coming to the party.
Pretty slow?
I'd say so, yeah.
But Water Resources, you think, have dealt with it okay?
Well, it probably could have been some earlier action.
After the cod, it was a European carp's turn to slowly die. While a regulator which controls water flow into the lake was closed, a slow leak of fresh water drew stressed carp in their thousands. This introduced species of fish is considered vermin, but even so, their plight was condemned by concerned locals and the RSPCA. It wasn't until they were nearly all dead that the New South Wales Fisheries Department issued its first licence for electric fishing. The remaining carp are now being stunned with electric currents, skimmed off and trucked away for lobster bait. Still left is the problem of the countless thousands of dead and rotting fish lining the lake. This is Sunset Strip, a stretching oasis of holiday and permanent homes built on Lake Menindee. You don't need any great imagination to realise what it's now like to live here.
And of course the smell of the lake at the night time, beautiful too. Really nice smell.
The local speedboat club called fisheries and offered to round up and bury the fish if trucks and loaders could be provided, but they were told to butt out.
The fisheries department had told our people to leave the fish alone.
It seems once the fish are dead, they're the problem of water resources. And smell, then under the Clean Air Act, they're the problem of the Environment Protection Authority. This is what happened when those two departments tried to communicate.
One of the reasons I'm here today is because in the past we've probably failed to articulate.
Here, in the presence of the EPA's Robin Baird, the Department of Water Resources is canvassing its clean-up options. Pick up and bury the dead fish, or try to wash away the problem with a release of precious water.
So what can you do? Someone has suggested that we open up the inlet regulator and flush the dead fish that are there now, because it's a highly visible area, out into the lake general.
The main danger being the dead fish could just blow back whence they came. Early the following morning, Water Resources opened the regulator and released some 4,000 megalitres of water in an attempt to flush away its problem. That's equivalent to half of Broken Hill's annual water supply. How come there was suddenly water available today to flush the fish out?
The environmental protection people asked us last night at a meeting, would we wash those fish away that were smelling?
But the night of the flushing, at yet another meeting, the EPA denied any such request was ever made.
Look, I'm amazed they were letting the water go this morning.
And apparently it's been done quickly without reference to anybody else.
I was there this morning and I seen a lot of dead fish. And I dispute the claim that those dead fish can't be picked up. I picked one up with a stick. You know, and I know they can be, so I'll dispute that claim.
The bureaucrats will need to take full advantage of the steep learning curve this drought has placed them on. Soon the adjacent Lake Corndilla will also be drained. The rationale for this being, putting the water from 4 lakes into 2 minimises evaporation. While this is no doubt a sound use of a scant resource, no plan has yet been developed to save Corndilla's cod. As well, entrenched local resentment towards cotton farmers both up and downstream is deepening. South of the lakes, one property, Tandao, buys 15,000 megalitres of water every year to irrigate cotton. That's 50% more water than Broken Hill's 24,000 residents use in a year. The fact is that you probably are the largest individual user of water out of this system, aren't you?
Between Menindee and Wentworth on the Lower Darling, that would be correct.
The allocations held downstream of Menindee, including Tandao, only total 38,000 megalitres.
Tandao's Managing Director Bob Smith and Water Resources have been forced to do a lot of explaining of late about the quantities of water still being sold to Tandao. Why do you think so many people seem to hate Tandao and Bob Smith?
Yeah, good question. He's done a lot for the area. The amount of water that they actually use is insignificant compared to the water that's stored here, but they get blamed for everything. You know, even if the cat has kittens, they still get blamed for it.
Why?
Jealousy, perhaps? I don't know.
It's estimated Tandao would use 6 inches of water from Lake Menindee every year, and if that wasn't used, it would have evaporated in just 4 weeks. Menindee would have required draining with or without Tandao. The fact is, the entire Murray-Darling Basin is now suffering from competing interests and mismanagement. Water which should be kept in the Menindee scheme has to be constantly released to flush away toxic blooms of blue-green algae which plague the Darling River downstream. Too many users and not enough water are destroying the river. So is bureaucracy. A total of 16 state and federal committees manage the Murray-Darling Basin. Between them, they've yet to produce a comprehensive audit of water use across the entire system. The dead fish at Lake Menindee are simply one symptom of a much wider stench.
Jill Singer reporting. Welcome again to the Liberal Leader.